Hello, everybody. It is me again, Brenda Ahenkorah. I'm the CEO and founder of My Well Self. We are a virtual one-to-one platform helping to empower and educate people on the wonderful wellness treatment out there and match them to personalized care. Enough about us. This is not about me and my company. We're here to talk to the lovely Julianna Harry. And Julianna is a psychotherapist of the practice Grey Couch Counseling and Psychotherapy. She's based in Ontario, but she offers virtual consultations to the people out there. So we're going to be speaking with Julianna today to learn more about herself, what makes her unique, what makes her shine, and obviously learn more about psychotherapy. So thank you, Julianna, and thanks so much for being with us today.
It is honestly my pleasure. I'm super, super excited to get to speak with you and be a part of this movement that you've created.
Oh, wonderful. Well, the movement includes people like yourself, so let's get to you. Okay. So why don't you start off by introducing yourself to us, please?
Yeah, so my name is Julianna Harry. I am a registered psychotherapist under CRPO, the College of Registered Psychotherapists of Ontario. And I mainly practice in Toronto, but GTA. But since I'm virtual, I have clients all over the province. So it's been super exciting, and getting to reach people that we wouldn't have been able to before has been such an honor.
Mhm. It's kind of unfortunate that the pandemic happened, but I agree with you. It kind of opened up on the other side of it a pool of opportunities that people didn't realize they had before. So I'm happy to hear that for you. It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. So tell us, what was your journey to becoming a psychotherapist? We'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so originally when I was in my undergraduate, I was hoping to become a lawyer. And funny enough, I had a teacher that had us in my first year sociology course say, "Who here wants to be a lawyer?" And everyone's hand shot up. And he said, "By third year, there will be like four of you
Oh
who
my.
want to be a lawyer." And I was like, "There's no way. Like, I know this is my dream." And by my third year, lo and behold, I took a course on the sociology of law, and I was like, "This is not for me."
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I pivoted and I took a course that integrated theory with practicality, just a really nice way of saying co-op.
Yeah,
And
got it.
I ended up working in a home, a halfway house with
Hmm,
women who have been in conflict with the law.
hmm,
So I worked there and I just enjoyed hearing the individual stories. I had the opportunity to do a group, kind of like their informal counseling experience. And that was dip, my first toe dip into therapy. And I couldn't articulate what I liked. I just like sitting in the office, having the ladies come in and out, just sitting and talking with me. And one day when I heard a story that was just a story of empowerment, a story so difficult, a story so full of trauma, all types of trauma, I was like, hey, I can actually handle this.
hmm,
So I would take a couple years working in the community, working with, our most underprivileged individuals, ranging from people that were street living or very underhoused, newcomers, people living with severe addiction, substance use, and severe mental health. So I worked in the community for like about, I want to say like 8 years.
wow,
And
that's a long time.
yeah, I did. Yeah.
Wow.
And I jumped around, and then I eventually worked more of a corporate job just to get my experience with working a little bit more corporate. And I worked with the government and offering like subsidies and income supplements to individuals. So all the while, so interested and so invested in the stories. I would get in too much trouble for my calls being long
Oh
because I
wow.
wanted to hear the stories. I love to hear the stories. And one of my friends, one of my really great friends, we're still friends. I'm going to her baby shower actually, so
Oh,
shout out.
that's nice.
Um, in a couple of weeks, one of my friends told me about a program, told me about therapy, and I just had this idea of, it being on the couch with a man,
Right.
and
Right.
and a white man, right? And
I understand.
I never thought that that could be something that I would do, and now I'm living my dream, honestly, getting to be listening to stories day in and day out.
That's an amazing story because I love how you really were like grassroots in a sense, right? Like you were really in the trenches and you had a deep understanding of what was going on like in the trenches. And there that sparked the energy for you to become, the registered psychotherapist that you are. So that's great. I love that. I really do. And with that journey, how did you? So when you realized that this is for me, I want to kind of contribute my point of view in this space, right? Which is great. How did you train to get to that point?
Yeah, so I completed a master's program. My master's is in counseling psychology, and it is about a 2.75 year program. I took a little bit of time. It took me about 3.5 years because I spaced it out a little bit.
Oh,
And so I completed a master's program, which also includes an 8 month, practicum, which is
wow.
actually for offering services as a student. So that was really just like being thrown into the deep end and really just jumping into things. So that was my journey to being registered.
That's great, wonderful. So now that you're here and you're practicing, I think one of the things that I also want to understand is the differences between different mental health people, people for lack of a better word. But there's the P's, right? There's the P's. There's the psychotherapist, there's the psychologist, and there's the psychiatrist. I always get a little bit different. What is the difference between those three? And how are you different from those two, I should say?
Right. This is such an important question. And, I think more and more it can be difficult for a client when they're looking for mental health support. Like, who do I go to and what am I going to get? So I'll start with psychiatrist. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor who is, trained, has a specialization in mental health issues. And the major thing to notice with a psychiatrist is that they can prescribe medication as a doctor.
Right.
So they can diagnose you with a mental health concern. So we're going to be getting out that big DSM-5, and they're going to be checking it off and also provide you with medical medication and a prescription.
And so,
Uh,
just so our audience, the DSM-5 is it's kind of like a validated, I guess, clinical survey. Is that what that is? Or
Correct. It's like a
okay,
survey where it has all of the different types of
okay,
mental disorders or issues that can be that an individual can have right now. So the 5 is the 5th version. So I think the 6th version is en route.
okay,
So the first version, had probably very probably things that we don't say anymore. And now, as they continue to adjust things and consider things not a mental health disorder or a mental health disorder, we're seeing that transition now.
okay,
So it's
got it. Okay, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted people to know what that meant, but go ahead, please.
yeah. So it's very medical with a psychiatrist. You're unlikely, and I want to tread lightly with this, but you are unlikely to get talk therapy with your psychiatrist. You know, we want to recognize that this is a certain lens that they're coming from. They're
Right,
coming from it from a very medical lens. So, we want to, there's an issue, let's cure it. This is how it can be cured. And
right,
that is with a diagnosis and medication accompanying. So that's a psychiatrist. A psychologist is able to diagnose but unable to prescribe medication. And again, the lens here is that usually a psychologist would have completed a PhD in psychology. And so they've researched, the different issues. They've looked at the trends. So they're coming from that lens of being able to assess and create complete assessments with clients. And some often do talk therapy as well, but it's going to be a little bit more structured. Excuse me, I would say more structured. So we're looking at CBT, which is very widely understood. as a theoretical modality for therapists, which is cognitive behavioral therapy.
Mhm.
Some psychologists have a Psych D, which is a PhD, a doctorate in counseling psychology as well, and so they might be a little bit more on the spectrum of providing talk therapy as their lens in treating the issue at hand.
Okay. Okay. That is a good understanding of the three P's, right? I believe, and how they're different. So now back to psychotherapy and to you, and when someone's going through whatever issue they're going through, at what point should they say that I need to see someone like you as a psychotherapist, in your opinion?
Right. So, a psychotherapist, what's important to note is in Ontario, we are unable to diagnose or prescribe medication.
Okay.
So, why would someone want to come to a psychotherapist if they can't diagnose and prescribe medication?
Right.
Uh, if you're dealing with something that may not be too severe, or in combination with like psychiatry, like you're taking medication or you've been assessed and you really need to you really want to work through those issues, a psychotherapist is a great option. It's a
Okay.
fantastic option because talk therapy is the lens that we're using. That's the medication I offer, is being able to work with you to figure out how do we get to the goal that you'd like. And sometimes that goal can be as little as I just need someone to talk to who's going to provide me with an unbiased, non-judgmental, warm space. And then other times it's a little bit more of a structured goal, like I do want to reduce my symptoms.
Yeah, I love when you said that that's the medication that I offer was the talk therapy. I think that's the tagline right there. I absolutely love that. So that's fantastic. A great way to put it when you compare it to psychiatrists. Love that. Okay, good. So the next question is, so we know that you offer psychotherapy. We know that you're about talk therapy. That's the medication that you offer. Do you target any specific area, or do you please tell us a little bit more about your specialization if you do have that?
Right. So, as a newer psychotherapist and I would say an ambitious person, I really started off wanting to service every and anyone. And we're always told, find your niche, find your target population, do that, do that. It's so important because you can't be everything you'd like to for everyone.
Right.
But as I worked out of a clinic, and I continue to work at a clinic sometimes, I was given the opportunity to have that diverse population. And through that, I've started to notice things that I'm a little bit better apt at working with. I seem to be I seem to attract a younger audience, I believe because I'm younger, and I look a lot younger than I am. So I do work with individuals 12 to about 35. That
Okay.
doesn't discount anyone above 35. It just seems to be like my sweet spot. I tend to work with people that are going through a life transition of some sort. So we're talking about like mothers this is their first child or second child, and now they're trying to navigate their identity and what that looks like, or high school students that are now in post-secondary or even taking a gap year, and what does that look like, or even integrating out of post-secondary and now you're an adult and now you have all these things coming at you and you're just like, I don't even know what I want to do, and figuring that out. So I tend to do really well with that transitional period for people. But in terms of actual, like, I would say issues or concerns, it's really funny, Brenda, but I find that it will change and it kind of comes in waves.
Right.
So if I'm dealing with something, sometimes I won't recognize that something's happening in my personal life. And I'll get a client that says something. I'm like, oh, hey, like I was kind of thinking about that too. And then I'll get a second client. And then if I get a third, I'm like, it's time to work on this. Why is this? Why am I attracting this? So I am a parent. So I was getting a lot of like new moms when I first started. And then now I've been, with all the financial stressors that are happening, like feeling that burden, feeling that pressure. I feel it too. I'm a human. So I was noticing when I was really thinking about my budgeting and getting my taxes together, I got a lot of clients talking about that. So it's really, really interesting how, you know, it can be so parallel or so mirroring with what I get as the concern or the topic of the session. I feel like I still didn't answer your question of what
No,
I
no,
spoke.
you did. You did in the most way that you probably don't even realize. That really resonated with me because you got me to think about the impact of transitioning in life and needing support in that moment. I didn't think about that at all. My daughter's 6,
Right.
and yeah, when she was born, I transitioned from single person to mom, and I didn't. When you said it out loud, I didn't realize that. Yeah, some support would have been nice to navigate this new world because yeah, it's a whole new person.
Yeah.
And wow, so that's great. So you answered the question to me. It was very clear, and it sounds like also you attract what you're going through to as well, which is great synergy for the person who's receiving care from you, in my opinion. So thanks for being vulnerable. I love that. You answered the question. Don't worry. Yeah, it's great. Wonderful. Okay, so I got a little distracted by that conversation. So let me go back to my sheet here. So we talked about the areas you get into. You may have even asked this question about the kind of common issues you see in your practice. We talked about moms. We talked about transitions in different parts of their lives. We talked about you connecting with people who are probably going through some similar life experiences. So I don't want to double down on that. But what is one of the questions you get asked the most? You can think about that.
Yeah. So this is such a good question. I would say the question that I get asked the most is, will I get better and how long? Like, is it going to take me one session? Is it going to take me five? And when are we going to get this over with, like the therapy thing?
Hmm. Yeah. And what is your answer? I'm curious to know. What
Yeah.
is your answer?
So I generally, I do like to give clients an honest estimate. I usually, from my experience, I tell them that between 2 to 5 sessions, you will notice a shift, a change, some difference. Depending on the concern, the goals, or kind of the issue, I will give like a little bit of I might say we need 5, 10, or 15 or more and go from there. I use a very collaborative approach where I check in with the client. Are biweekly sessions working? Do we want to start off with weekly for about a month if it needs to be a little bit more intensive?
Right.
And then I hope to, I'm sorry to say, and I don't want to be offensive, and I tell my clients this, but I wouldn't want to be your therapist for 5 years. I wouldn't think that that is effective. I wouldn't think that I could remain effective for you. And it would mean that, something really has to shift and change. Like, why haven't we been able to like make that move? So my goal is to get you to spacing out the therapy sessions. Sometimes people do need weekly for an extended period.
Right.
Sometimes bi-weekly, but I do usually kind of move forward a little bit into like 3 weeks and then monthly. But my answer is generally it is a process. You have to trust the process. These
Right.
are only guidelines.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I can feel your pain when it's like, I've gone through my own mental health journey, and I haven't put any I've had to learn not to put a timeline on it 100% because it's so subjective to each person. So
For
great that you
sure.
give that response. And so when someone comes to see you, Juliana, as a psychotherapist, they come to you, they're intentional, they're not putting a clock on that time for getting well. What kind of improvements could they see in themselves with commitment?
Yeah, so I think the best thing that I think I can assist with, what I like to say is I'm a guide. I'm on the sidelines with you through this marathon, just
Yeah,
cheering you on.
yeah,
And with that being said, I might have some water, I might have that towel that you need. So I'm here to give you
love it.
those tools just to help you. I'm not there to, tell you how to manage your life or what to do. I'm not the expert on that. You are. So I have the ability that I've been given I'm so happy that I have knowledge and I understand psychological concepts, but I don't know what you're going through. Only you do. So I would say the improvement is a shift in perspective, an
Yeah,
alternate perspective, and some tools to manage with future life distresses or experiences. Life is going to happen. We're not always going to be able to handle it in the way that we'd like.
Right.
And just really mainly really being able to know that in the future you have more equipable tools.
Yeah, that's great. I love you're giving some good gems during this interview. But you talked about being, throwing you some water. You were there to give some water during that marathon, or throwing a towel during that. I had a really good visual there when you said that. So that's fantastic.
I'm very visual. Yeah.
No, that's great. You did give me some really good visuals for me to take with me. But and last but not least, we learned a lot about you. I always love to ask this final question so people understand the kind of resources that they have. But our psychotherapists covered under health benefits. We know that most people, whether it's through their companies or whether through it's private, do have health benefits.
Right.
So our psychotherapists covered under health benefits.
Yeah, so for the majority, I mean, again, it's individual to each company, employer, and insurance provider.
Yeah.
Psychotherapy is covered. What I like to do with my clients is if there's a question, just encourage and help them to advocate for finding out the amount that they're given. Luckily, due to the pandemic, a lot of employers realized that mental health was so important. So the limits have been increased.
Yeah.
I remember I had like $300, and by the time the end of the pandemic, at my previous employer, we ended up having like I think 1,000 to 1,500.
Yeah.
So employers really understand the push. Just a note with psychotherapy, we just don't direct bill at this time, and that's really the only kind of downfall. But besides that, it is generally covered. You get the receipt, and they approve it.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for reminding us of that, and just a reminder too that if anyone listening has health benefits, it's covered under your resources to see people like Julianna. Okay. And with that, we've done this lovely chat. I want to again thank you, Julianna Harry, again, a registered psychotherapist from Grey Count Counseling and Psychotherapy. She's based in Ontario, and she's taking virtual consultations from anyone in Ontario, correct? So please check out her profile and feel free to get in contact with her directly or through our care navigation platform. And with that, we want to say thank you and thanks for tuning in this time, guys.
Take care.
Bye.